they still would like to cut rates multiple times, maybe be more tolerant of that higher inflation.
But it was a very close call today, and that's what was interesting, because the Fed saw stronger growth, lower unemployment, and higher core inflation this year, but just barely maintained the 3 rate cuts. They had 9 members, 9 of the 19 members saw 2 cuts or fewer, and 10 saw 3. If one person had changed their vote, then we would have had 2 cuts, and the markets probably would have had a completely different reaction.
You asked Powell about inflation dynamics, whether we see more one-off increases that end up fading away, or whether there's a secular turn here. He didn't seem to have a perfect answer for that. How concerned is he about this?
He said, we have the same questions that you do, which made me feel good, I guess. They think, in general, that we saw some one-offs, so maybe turn of the year, increases in insurance and things like that, but they aren't sure yet, which means they want more time. But there was enough that scared them that they did raise the forecast for core inflation next year. So at this point, they're keeping their fingers crossed that their forecast will be okay. But a significant number of them did vote to move up their own inflation forecast. So it's possible, if we see another bad inflation report, that at the next time they do this dot plot, we'll go down to 2.
Michael McKee, thank you. It's great to have you back in the nation's capital as we enjoy each Fed day. Also in focus, progress on the language for a funding deal to prevent a partial government shutdown. We just haven't seen it yet. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell talked about it earlier. Here he is.
My assumption, and what I've told our members, is we're likely to be here this weekend. That will be determined, however, by how long it stays in the House. What we have recently done, and I think hopefully will work again, is that in return for a certain number of amendments, we can finish it quicker, hopefully, than putting us in a position of shutting down the government.
Let's bring in Jonathan Tamari from Bloomberg Government. He's just back from the Hill. Jonathan, great to see you. This is all about the clock at this point. How long the House holds the bill, as Mitch McConnell references, 72 hours is the rule. So everyone has a chance to read this. The Freedom Caucus wants to get that time. But those are the same 30 members who would probably vote against this thing anyway. So the Speaker has a decision to make. Can he just bring it to the floor now if he wants to?
He could. I mean, this is a rule that's essentially an informal rule. It's not written into law. It's not, in the Constitution or anything. So he could. And House Republicans are signaling that they are more likely to ignore that 72-hour rule, bring it out as fast as they can, because lawmakers want to get this done. They don't want to have a partial shutdown, and they're all eyeing this recess that starts next week. They don't want to be here this weekend. Like anybody who's looking at a break, you don't want to work overtime right before you're starting vacation.
Jonathan, you probably yourself would prefer not to work this
I wouldn't
weekend
mind.
as well.
Nothing personal there.
Of course, while this funding battle is still ongoing, or at least the race against the clock is, there were other things going on the Hill today, including a meeting with Senate Republicans, which was zoomed into by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Of course, this comes after Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader, called for new elections in Israel. What came out of that meeting? And does it influence at all the path forward for supplemental funding, which, of course, has already passed the Senate, but very much remains in question in the House, not just for Israel, but Ukraine as well?
Yeah, I don't think it will affect supplemental funding for Israel specifically. I think there's still bipartisan support for sending money to Israel, although there's Democrats who want to put conditions on that aid and Republicans who don't. The Democrats are pretty much divided on it. I think what Netanyahu's visit today, combined with Schumer's speech, does is it underscores how Netanyahu personally has become essentially a partisan figure, where he is now much more affiliated with the Republican Party. Democrats oppose Netanyahu by and large. And so that could have an effect in the future of how Israel is viewed. I think at the moment there's still widespread support for Israel, but you see the parties moving in different directions, especially around this specific Israeli government.
Once we get through this, it's unclear in terms of the funding mechanism, whether we shut down or get a continuing resolution. Once we get through this, will we have a sense in the next 24 hours or so what the answer is?
on the continuing resolution.
If that's needed. We talked yesterday about maybe a brief weekend shutdown, but they're pushing this to the line now. We're going to be into next week.
They really are. I think they'll find a way to get it done over the weekend. The Senate and the House, they have a way of, when there's a recess coming, they're speeding things up. The issue is that over the weekend, a shutdown, the government isn't really open over the weekend generally anyway. So we'll see if they need a CR. I think we'll have a better sense depending on when they actually put the text out. If they can get it out early tomorrow, maybe they can get it done on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If it keeps getting kicked back and days and days and days, we might need that short-term stopgap to prevent a shutdown next week.
All right, well, we're still waiting at this hour. Jonathan Tamari of Bloomberg Government, thank you so much. Elsewhere, President Biden toured an Intel campus outside of Phoenix, Arizona today, just after the Commerce Department announced $20 billion in grants and loans to help fund an expansion of that company's semiconductor factories. Next on the president's agenda is Texas, where he'll be meeting with donors in Dallas and Houston. The visit rounding out Biden's trip to 3 different border states this week. Joining us now with more from Texas is our Texas bureau chief, Bloomberg's Julie Fine. So, Julie, we know that Texas is a deep red state. What is Biden's reception likely to be in the state today?
The president's reception is expected to be very good. He's got 3 fundraisers, 2 in Dallas, 1 in Houston, expected to net over $5 million between the 3 fundraisers. While Texas has been a very good cash register for Republicans, there are a lot of Democrats here as well. So the president is expected to get a big haul and a very big reception when he arrives.
We've got some news from the Supreme Court. This landed around this time yesterday, Julie Fine, allowing the state of Texas to begin arresting and deporting people who enter the country illegally. How is this playing locally, and what does it mean for Governor Greg Abbott?
Well, currently there's a stay on this, and this is now back in front of the Fifth Circuit. This has been playing locally here for some time. It's called Senate Bill 4, and it has been a very challenging issue for lawmakers here in Texas. Well, it passed by the Republican House and it passed by the Republican Senate and signed by the governor. There are a lot of people that are very uncomfortable with this bill. But again, it was expected to pass. It did pass. And here in Texas, it is a very big part of the election this time around. So a lot of eyes are on this law and what will happen next. Now, the Texas law enforcement has been prepared for this. There is law enforcement all up and down the border right now. The question is, when will they be able to arrest and deport? They are waiting on the decision from the court. There is no word yet exactly when that will come down.
Well, Julie, given the history of the Fifth Circuit in the state of Texas, is there any idea, prevailing thinking, as to how exactly the court is likely to rule whenever that time comes?
There is no prevailing thinking right now. There is a question whether or not it is split. However, this is one of the most conservative courts in the nation. But there were questions today in the arguments about this bill and its implementation. So this is one that could be a little different for the court to hear. We'll have to wait and see what happened. But that is a great point, Kailey. This is one of the most conservative courts in the nation.